Strength Personified Podcast with your host, best-selling author, Brittany Cooley. The devil's worst nightmare herself is here to give you a dose of her explicit strength that she's forged in the survival of trauma that would make your skin crawl. Listener warning, your struggles will undoubtedly turn into your strength. Your excuses will become your motivation, and that victim card you've been playing, it's going in the trash. It's time to change your perspective, face your fears, and unpack all that shit you've been avoiding.
Hi, welcome back to the show, or welcome to the show. This is very overdue and not in the exact scenario that I wanted it to be. But this is important. Today is an important day. Tomorrow is an important day. And before tomorrow passes me by, as Mental Health Awareness Month did, as many other days of significance have, I wanted to come here and record this and share with you what today exactly means and what tomorrow is significantly to me, and just kind of the journey that I have taken, if you don't know already. So 12 years ago today, I made the executive decision to end my life. I came to that grave realization out of desperation and out of suffering, out of incredible pain that I just couldn't take anymore. And I didn't know how to stop it. And I didn't know anything about trauma. And I didn't know that I had to work through the trauma. I had been compiling trauma and trauma and trauma and trauma my whole life since I was 7 or 6, really. And I just shoved it down because I never wanted anybody to know the different. I didn't want anyone to know what I had been through. I didn't want anyone to know that I was damaged. I didn't want anyone to know that I was broken. I just wanted to be normal. I wanted to fit in. And I just played pretend. It was make-believe. I morphed myself into whatever the person in front of me wanted me to be so that they would accept me. I did whatever I could to feel like I mattered and that I was worthy of love and that I got the attention I deserved and I was important, because I never felt that way. Self-worth and self-esteem was not something that was instilled in me. My upbringing was really nuts. I'm sure if you're watching this, you may have heard the story, maybe you've read the book. I don't want to get into the whole thing today, but I will eventually on this podcast someday. But I just was consumed with everything that was wrong with me, and I had never really been in an environment that supported talking and not being okay, being okay. I was pushed very hard, and I wanted the admiration and the praise, and I wanted to hear the words, "I'm so proud of you." And I wanted to meet the status quo. I wanted to meet the standard. I wanted to be worthy. I wanted to forget everything that happened, and I surely did not want anyone to know what had happened to me in my childhood. So years of just compression, compiling it all down, shoving it under the rug, right? You shove enough shit under the rug, you're gonna turn around and you're gonna trip over it. And you're not even gonna realize it's gotten that big. And that's kind of what happened to me 12 years ago today. I mean, I was 12 years ago, like last week, actually. I just started feeling a lot of panic and a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. I didn't know what was wrong with me. I couldn't breathe. I was afraid of my own shadow. I'd rock in the corner and cry. And I didn't know how to ask for help. And I didn't know how to tell anybody what was wrong with me, because I didn't even know. How do you explain to someone that you need help and that something's wrong when you can't even put your finger on it, right? I could easily say, yeah, obviously I looked very upset. But, if somebody would ask me why, I would have no idea. I don't know how to explain the feeling, this crushing despair that I had. And yeah, I was going through some personal things. Yeah, I was struggling in the job that I thought was my calling. Um, but it was nothing that wasn't fixable, right? Uh, but in that time, things got so dark and the tunnel got so narrow and the light went out. And I truly had this epiphany 12 years ago today. I remember I sat up and I was like, and I felt such a relief. And it's terrifying to truly think about this. I felt such a relief because I knew what I had to do to end all of this internal anguish, to end all of this self loathing and self hatred. I truly believed that my only solution to whatever I was facing, whatever I was feeling, all the shame, all the guilt, I felt like I was a burden. I felt like it didn't matter. I felt like I was worthless. I felt like I had nothing to offer the world or anybody in it. Uh, I truly felt that the solution was to end my life. That was my aha moment. And it's disturbing to look back at because I truly remember feeling so happy and like euphoric. I got up and I took a shower. I hadn't taken a shower in like 2 weeks or a week or so. I went to the store and gone anywhere in a week or so, other than to sit on the porch and smoke a pack of cigarettes. But then I decided, well, the nicotine really wasn't doing it for me. And then I stopped doing that. I went to the store. I made dinner because I was so relieved that that relief was coming. Like the peace was going to come. I was finally going to just end all of this. I was like, if this is what life feels like, if this is this crushing despair that I'm always going to feel, the guilt of leaving my mom and her dying, the damage that was done to me physically, mentally, emotionally, when I was from age 8 to 14, the fact that I was left and not saved, I always felt like I was not worth saving when I could have been. You know, the fact that I was let to believe that I was able to make a decision for myself and my well-being at 8 years old when I had no business doing that. I had a lot of anger, I had a lot of guilt, and I had a lot of despair, and I just wanted to shut it off. 12 years ago today, I made the decision that that was my final answer. That was my solution. And then 12 years ago tomorrow, July 17th, 2012, I made a very serious attempt to take my life. I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky to be here. I want to make this video because I haven't talked enough about this. I haven't talked enough about my story. I've not shared my story enough. I've been very busy and I have not done this podcast the way I wanted to. And I don't like that for me. But I didn't want Let Today and Tomorrow get away from me because it's such a remembrance of how far I've come. It's not been easy. The last 12 years have not been easy. When I got out of that, when I woke up in that ICU with my 26 staples in my stomach and I was intubated, like that was not great. Like that was like an awakening in itself. And I realized I had a choice. I could either roll over and just, disintegrate, or I could do something to change my life and to make it something I enjoyed and to figure out what the fuck was wrong with me. And a lot of it, truly, I mean, yes, I've done all the trauma unpacking. There's trauma unpacking every day. My greatest trauma response is obviously my sense of humor, if you follow me anywhere. But I found purpose in connecting with other people who have felt this way or who feel this way and letting them know that they're not alone. I tried to become the person that I needed when I was on that rock bottom's basement floor. There's nothing you can do. Like, if you've lost someone to suicide, there's nothing. It is not your fault. Because a lot of us, I'll just speak for myself, but I know, like, we're very good at hiding it. No one had any idea. I think I caused an uproar with everybody. They're like, what do you mean? She was fine. She's this. Yeah. Like, what am I supposed to do? I didn't feel comfortable talking. I didn't feel comfortable sharing what I was feeling. I felt ashamed. And I didn't even know what I was feeling. I didn't know how to communicate that. Like, I didn't know how to say, hey, like, I'm not okay. I don't really know what's wrong. But you don't have to communicate it perfectly. You just have to let somebody know they are not okay. And you don't have to explain it. And I wish I would have done that. If somebody would have approached me around that time and said, hey, are you like thinking of, you know, hurting yourself? I'd been like, yeah, absolutely. Like I would have said yes, because that would have opened the door of the conversation. So I want this video to be educational. I'm very lucky to be alive, and I have so many beautiful things today that I can't imagine not having and not being here to experience. But I don't want anyone to feel like they are worthless and they're alone and any of their problems are not fixable, because they are. Unless you harm children, then you do you, boo-boo. God's got you. But I know what it's like to feel that despair, and I felt it again. Not so long ago. I've always struggled with seeking attention, not seeking attention, but seeking love and compassion and wanting to be accepted by people, because I've always felt like I was never good enough, right? I always felt like I wasn't worthy. I always felt like the black sheep. I always felt like I would never compare to all these other people I was around. So I strove for that. I strove for that. And I just kind of morphed myself into be what everybody wanted me to be. And I didn't even really know who I was. And I think the biggest mistake, well, it wasn't a mistake, it was my fault, but I think the biggest thing that was my downfall was that I truly just didn't feel comfortable expressing who I was. I didn't know who I was, because I was just trying to please everyone else, because I needed that gratification. And I still struggle with that, right? I continuously care about people way more than they care about me. I'm continuously like, you know, looking for something that I don't have or that I haven't felt. But please do not be ashamed of who you are. Number one. Number two, always ask for help. It's okay to talk. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay not to be okay. And it is okay for you to communicate that you don't know what's wrong with you, but something's wrong and you just need somebody there. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to speak out, and please know that ending your life is not the solution. It is not the solution. That's never the solution. If somebody would have just gotten me out of my head for just a few minutes, or, you know, sat down and really like listened to me, not that it's anybody's fault, because again, I hit it really well. But I maybe I would have made a different decision. Or if I saw some girl talking on the internet, this would have caught my attention. And I had no intention of sharing this story even with the world, because I was ashamed of this too. I was like, nobody's ever going to want me. Like, wacko. I've had to do a lot of work on my self-esteem and my self-worth, and I had to quit surrounding myself with people who made me feel like shit all the time, whether it was intentional or not. That is a huge thing. You have to really control who you spend your time with, the most time with, because that is what will rub off on you. If they do not make you feel good, if they do not make you feel valued, if they do not make you feel important, then you need to, maybe you can't remove yourself from them completely, but you need to give yourself space. And just be who you are. Fuck everyone. Seriously. Like, not literally. Don't do that. But, I mean, who gives a fuck what Sally down the street thinks? Honestly. If you're happy, like, look at me. People talk shit about me all the time. Think I don't hear it? I do. But I don't care, because I am who I am. And I'm too much. I hear it all the time. I'm exhausting. I'm too much. Dramatic. I'm animated. Whatever. This is what you get, boo-boo. And I'm not putting myself in a box to become something for someone else anymore. I truly believe I am enough as I am. I'm plenty. I'm plenty. But it's not really seeking love in others. It's seeking the love in yourself. Seeking love in myself that I needed to work on. And doing things that fueled that person. Being the person that I wanted to be, right? Working out, eating better, losing weight, anything. Anything that made me feel like a better person, which in result would make me a better mother, which in result would make me more confident, which in result would. I had to really learn how to love myself, because it's true. It's cliche, you hear it all the time, but if you don't love yourself, no one else can. And that is the most important relationship you'll ever have, is with yourself. Stop hanging around people that make you feel like shit. Teach people how to treat you. Know your worth. Reduce your toxic behaviors. Don't drink yourself to sleep every night. Okay? Put the McUltras down. And don't fucking worry about who thinks what about you. Truly. The day and age with social media, like, it's a nightmare. Okay? I've been doing this since 2014. And at first it was like really fun because like everybody was really positive, and now there's like a bunch of trolls. It's like, but it doesn't matter, because I'm not here for the trolls. I'm here for the people who need to hear this. At the end of the day, if you lived, you loved, and you mattered, that's all that matters. Brendon Burchard said that. And I heard a quote recently, I think it was yesterday. Maybe I read it on Instagram probably. It said, if you went back and erased all of your mistakes, then you would erase yourself. So as much as I regret much of my past, but specifically the decision I came to 12 years ago today, and the decision I made 12 years ago, I would not be here. I would not have my daughter. I wouldn't have all the wonderful things that I have. And I've struggled. I've struggled a lot. But I stand tall. I'm very proud of who I am. And I'm very proud of how far I've come. And I have the understanding that a lot of people wouldn't make it a day in my shoes. And I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. But I found value in myself. And I mean, it took me 30 plus years, but I did. And if you're watching this and you have connected or resonated with anything here, please know that ending your life is not a solution to your problems. And every one of your problems has a solution. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not be able to explain what's going on. But you have to know that you're here for a reason and you matter. And whatever you're feeling right now is temporary. And you will look back someday. And God, those days feel like they will never end. I know. And you just can't wait for that crushing despair to stop and to lighten up and for the sun to come out and the birds to sing. But I'm telling you, it will. It will again in ways that you would have never imagined. And you will look back how many ever years later, 12 maybe, and be so proud of the person that you've become because you fought. Never really understood why I had it so hard, right? And why things were so difficult for me. And I mean, they kind of still are. They kind of just continued that way. And chaos follows, the chaotic decisions, whatever. But it's led me here. It's led me here to this podcast. This first episode of this podcast. It is way overdue. It's led me to 12 years of surviving myself and creating something beautiful on the ruins of what I thought was going to crush me forever. And I'm really grateful. If you feel any type of way, like I was just discussing, if you feel like you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, you need to reach out. You need to get help. You don't need to be afraid. Nobody's going to lock you up. You need to talk about it. You need to get out of your head. You need to get out of yourself. You need to discuss it with someone. If you don't have anybody, you literally can go to your nearest emergency room and talk and go walk in and say, I want a crisis evaluation. I need a psych evaluation. And a crisis worker or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, someone will come give you an assessment, and they will listen to you and they will talk to you about what's going on. And they will either put you in services, put you in treatment, put you in counseling, get your primary care provider to, do a med appointment, see if some meds will help. Do not ever struggle alone. You do not have to do this alone. Okay. If you know someone who you think is struggling, the best thing you can do is be there and pay attention to the signs. If somebody is super chipper and always, has their hair done, their makeup done, and they're just kind of looking like a slap tart for like more than a few days, and that's a very unusual behavior, hygiene is a sign. Hygiene starts to decrease. It's a good sign that they're going down in a slump. And you don't need to bombard them, but you need to be there for them and listen to them. And honestly, if you really have a concern that somebody you care about or love is thinking of ending their life by suicide, you have to ask the hard question. It's the best way. It's the best way, because if someone were to have asked me that 12 years ago, minus a day, I would have said, yeah, actually. So you have to ask the hard question. That's all of the training that I've done. I mean, I could give you all kinds of bullet points, but that is truly the best tip I can give anybody. Are you thinking of hurting yourself? Are you thinking of ending your life? You have to ask that hard question. It's hard to love someone through something like this. It is. I've lost quite a few people because I was too much. But you asking that question is opening a door for them to talk to you. And then if they say, yes, I am, you need to get them to a nearest emergency room and have a crisis worker or a psychiatrist or a professional evaluate them and determine their safety, because their safety is number one. If they are feeling like hurting themselves and you get that out of them, you need to take them, and you do not leave their side until they're, sitting into where they're supposed to be. That's very important information. And if you want to know the best way to prevent suicide or to prevent any kind of, what you can do, what your part is. If you don't know anyone that's that depressed, if you just want to help fight the fight, honestly, just be a fucking nice person. Just be kind. Kindness is so powerful, especially now. There's so much hatred everywhere. Everybody's so pissed off all the time. There's always somebody judging someone or making fun of somebody's fucking clothes or how fat they are, whatever. Like, just be nice. And it's simple. You don't have to go out of your way and buy them Starbucks, but open the door for the person behind you. Hold the door. If you see somebody and you like their shoes, say, I love your shoes. You might be the only positive encounter that person has all day. You don't know how much that means to somebody who is struggling, like those of us who have. Just be a nice person. Stop talking shit about people and just be a nice person. Pay attention. Pay attention to the people that you love, because they need you. And it's not an easy thing to talk about. It's still not easy for me to talk about it on the internet. I've been doing it for a few years now, 10 to be exact. 2014 was when I first shared a brief synopsis of my story on my blog. And 2 books later, it's still difficult for me. But I'm doing it because I know that there is somebody that will hear this, even if it's just one person, will feel less alone. And I want that for them, because I know how important it is when you're in that space to feel like you're nothing to no one. Well, that's about enough for me today. Thank you so much for watching this. If it spoke to you, please let me know in the comments. Please share it with your friends. Please subscribe. I will be back sooner than I have been so far. But yeah, that's my tattoo that I got for this day. It's a semicolon. Obviously, it's kind of your story isn't over yet. It's kind of cliche, but it's a thing. When people see this on somebody's arm and they know they've struggled, it's kind of it's like the duck thing with the Jeeps. It's like, hey, you know what I mean? And then my word is hope. There's always hope. And then the date, July 17, 2012. So I made it another year around the moon, around the sun, whatever planets were around. Who knows? People think the Earth is flat. I have no idea. I'm not good at geography. I skipped that grade. But every day is a gift, even if it's difficult. And I've really tried to remind myself of that lately. So maybe we can remind each other together. Well, that's all, folks. I'll see you next time.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode with a friend, and rate 5 stars wherever you're listening. Connect with Brittany on social media at @TheBrittanyCooley. And send your topic request to BrittanyCooley.com.